Would you follow a message from your dead childhood friends? I was halfway home when the message arrived. The screen lit up in my palm, the glow too bright against the fading twilight. It was from a number I didn't recognize. Come meet us, the old park, Twilight. At first I thought it was spam, but then, beneath the message, were 3 names. Names I hadn't spoken aloud in years. Names I'd whispered in grief, shouted in denial, carved into my memory like initials on tree bark. They were my childhood friends, and they were dead. I stood still on the quiet street, the cool air brushing against my face. The city seemed hushed, as though waiting for my decision. My heart thudded. I almost put the phone away and kept walking, but something heavier than curiosity pressed me forward. I turned. The park wasn't far. The park had been abandoned long before I grew up. Faded swings, cracked pavement, weeds pushing through the basketball court. We used to play here after school, the 4 of us, inseparable. Then came the accident. A car, a sudden screech, and everything ended. For them, at least. For me, it never really ended. As I entered, the air felt different, thicker. My phone buzzed again. We're here, by the carousel. The battery icon glowed red. 7% left. My chest tightened. I walked slowly, sneakers crunching on gravel. The rusted carousel sat in the middle, frozen in place, paint peeled like old skin. Then I saw them, 3 figures, standing together, just beyond the last trace of sunlight. I froze. They hadn't aged a day. Their faces were exactly as I remembered. The same clothes, even the faded hoodie, the soccer jersey, the jean jacket with the frayed collar. 10 years had passed, but it looked like they had stepped straight out of that summer afternoon. One of them lifted a hand and waved. My knees nearly buckled. "Hey," I croaked, voice catching in my throat. "Hey," they echoed perfectly in unison. I wanted to run, but I walked closer instead. The ground felt like it tilted under me. Their smiles didn't quite reach their eyes. I stopped a few feet away, my phone trembling in my hand. I whispered. The word dead refused to leave my lips. They only tilted their heads like children waiting for me to join a game. "Come on," said the one in the hoodie. His voice was light, cheerful, exactly as I remembered. "We've been waiting for you." The park around us seemed to fall silent. No birds, no cars, not even the wind. My phone buzzed once more, a new message. "Don't leave, stay with us." The battery dipped to 4%. I slipped it into my pocket, heart pounding so hard it hurt. "I can't stay long," I muttered, though I didn't know who I was trying to convince, them or me. "You don't have to leave at all," the girl in the jean jacket said. Her smile widened too wide. "We've missed you. We've kept your place." She pointed to the carousel. A single horse stood gleaming in the dusk. I knew that horse. I'd always chosen it as a kid, painted in peeling gold with one ear broken off. "Sit," she whispered. My phone vibrated in my pocket. I flinched. The boy in the jersey frowned. "Ignore it. That world doesn't want you. We do." The words sank in, heavy and sweet. I looked at their faces again, faces frozen in time, unscarred, perfect. I remembered laughter echoing through summer nights, sticky fingers from melting popsicles, whispered secrets under the trees. They were everything I'd lost, everything I'd buried. And here they were, offering it back. All I had to do was stay. A creak split the silence. The carousel shifted, though no wind touched it. The golden horse seemed to turn its head toward me. My throat closed. "No," I whispered. The hoodie boy stepped closer. His shoes made no sound on the gravel. "Don't you want to be happy again? We'll play forever. No more leaving. No more growing old." My chest ached. My legs shook behind me. The last streak of twilight faded. The park darkened. Their outlines sharpened against the gloom. They reached out their hands. The air felt colder now. My breath came in shallow bursts. My pocket hummed again. I yanked out my phone. 2% battery. The screen glowed with one more message. "Choose, stay or go alone." I stared at it, trembling. My thumb hovered over the power button, as though shutting it off would shut them off too. But their faces were so familiar, so kind, so painfully what I once had. My voice cracked. The golden horse glimmered faintly in the dark. They smiled wider, waiting. The phone gave a soft beep. 1% left. I looked at their outstretched hands. I thought of my empty apartment, my long commutes, the dull silence of my days. No one waiting, no one calling. Here, at least, someone wanted me. My heart ached with longing so sharp it felt like love. The carousel gave another creak. "Stay." They whispered together. "Stay forever." The phone dimmed in my hand, and I almost let it die. But my thumb pressed down. The screen went black before it could slip from my grip. I shoved it back into my pocket and stepped backward. Their smiles faltered. Their hands dropped. "You'll be back," the hoodie boy said softly. His voice was no longer cheerful. "The world will eat you alive. We'll be waiting." I turned. My legs carried me out of the park. My chest was tight, my breath ragged, but I didn't stop until I reached the streetlights again. When I finally looked back, the park was dark. Empty that night, I plugged in my phone and stared at the blank charging screen for hours. I didn't get any more messages. But sometimes, when twilight falls, I hear it again. A faint creak in the distance, like a carousel turning in the dark. And I wonder how long I can keep choosing to walk away. I stepped out of my hotel room and never found the end of the hallway. I thought I knew the hotel well enough. The layout was simple: 4th floor, room 416, end of the hall. But sometime past midnight, when I stepped out to get a bottle of water from the vending machine, I made a wrong turn. At least I thought I did. The hallway was silent. Beige carpet, faint scent of cleaning chemicals, that same wallpaper patterned with little gold squares. I kept walking, expecting to see the vending alcove, or the elevators, or at least some familiar sign. But the corridor stretched on, perfectly straight. I glanced back. My door was gone. A cold unease settled into me. I pulled my keycard from my pocket and tried the first door I came to. The light blinked red. Locked. I tried another. Red again. Every door rejected me. My own room number no longer existed. Somewhere overhead, the air system groaned and rattled creak. It echoed much longer than it should have, like the sound was sliding down the corridor after me. I told myself it was fine. Hotels often look identical, floor to floor. Maybe I'd wandered onto the wrong level. So I checked the windows along the side of the hall. At first they showed only the city at night, cars below, a blinking traffic light. Then, in the next window, I froze. There were no cars, just a horse-drawn carriage rattling across cobblestones. People in hats and long coats, gas lamps flickering. The city looked the same, but older, as though time had slipped backward. I staggered to the following window. This one showed something different again. Neon signs, but battered, burned out. A billboard with rusted metal and a date I didn't recognize. The skyline warped into something more ruined, more empty. Each window was a different year, a different version of the same city, none of them mine. The corridor hummed under the fluorescent lights. A faint buzzing vibration tingled through the floor. I checked my phone, but the screen stayed black, refusing to wake. I kept walking, testing doors, hoping one would open. Every keycard swipe ended the same: red light, denial. My breath came shorter. The air felt heavier. Then I heard it. Footsteps, slow, steady, behind me. I spun around. The corridor stretched into infinity, lit the same, repeating the same pattern of carpet and doors and lights. No figure, but the sound was real. My ears don't lie. I called out, "Hello? Security, anyone?" No answer. Only silence, and then another creak from the ceiling, like the whole building was bending. I walked faster. My footsteps echoed louder than they should have, bouncing against the walls until I couldn't tell which ones were mine and which weren't. Every door remained locked, my card growing warm in my hand as if mocking me. After what felt like half an hour, I stopped at a window again. This time the city outside was filled with smoke. Sirens wailed faintly in the distance, a red glow staining the clouds. My reflection looked pale and thin, like the longer I stayed, the more the corridor drained from me. I pressed my forehead against the glass. The sirens grew louder, but they didn't match what I saw. When I turned, the sound filled the hallway instead, bouncing off the endless doors. My chest tightened. Panic clawed at me. I broke into a run. The corridor stretched forever, lights flickering as I passed. My heart hammered. The footsteps followed again, quickening now, closer. I didn't dare look back. I slammed another keycard into a lock. Red tried again and again. Red, my hands shook. I banged on the door, shouting. No answer. The footsteps stopped. When I turned, the hallway was empty. But I wasn't relieved, because in the silence I realized something worse. The corridor hadn't just grown longer. It had begun to fold. The carpet patterns repeated, but warped slightly each time. The wallpaper squares grew crooked. A picture frame hung sideways. Then another. Then the ceiling lights bent at odd angles, as though the place was decaying in slow motion. And still, every door was locked. I leaned against one, sliding down until I sat on the carpet. My chest rose and fell in uneven bursts. I tried to remember how I'd left my room. Was it even real? Had I actually stepped out, or had the corridor been waiting for me all along? The buzzing returned low, steady. The floor trembled, vibrating through my shoes. I lifted my eyes toward the windows again. The years kept shifting. The past, the future. Moments of fire, moments of silence. I understood then. This was not a hallway to rooms. It was a hallway through time, and I was trapped in it. I forced myself to stand. My knees shook, but I kept moving, because the footsteps might return, and the silence was worse than the sound. I tried counting my steps, marking the lights overhead, anything to ground myself. But numbers dissolved. Patterns slipped. The corridor was endless, but not in a straight line, endless in the way a mirror bounces reflections back forever. I passed a window that showed the present again. My city, my year, cars, lights, neon. Relief surged, sharp and sudden. I pounded the glass. It didn't break. My reflection stared at me with hollow eyes. I whispered, "Please," but there was no answer. The buzzing swelled, shaking the walls. Dust trickled from the ceiling. Somewhere, another door clicked. Just once, sharp enough to cut through the hum. My heart leapt. I sprinted toward the sound. My lungs burned. One door at the very end of the corridor stood open, just a sliver, a wedge of darkness inside. I slowed as I reached it, hand trembling, afraid of what might be waiting. Behind me, the corridor groaned, as if the walls themselves were pressing closer. I pushed the door. It swung inward, revealing another corridor. Identical, same carpet, same wallpaper, same lights. The only difference, the windows showed nothing at all, just black glass, swallowing any reflection. I laughed then. A dry, broken sound, because I understood what the hotel had given me. Not escape, not safety, but another loop, another cycle, and maybe there would always be another door, another hallway, another year outside the glass. I stepped forward anyway, because standing still felt worse than being lost forever. The door closed behind me with a soft click.
When the dream followed me into dawn, I knew there was no waking up. I woke before the sun rose, the way I had for weeks, not because of any alarm, but because of that dream, the same dream, repeating itself until it felt less like imagination and more like a memory. In the dream, I stood before a window. Beyond it stretched a pale landscape, a world drained of color, where shadows moved like figures searching for something they'd lost. They never spoke, they never came close, but they were always there, waiting. When I opened my eyes this morning, the details hadn't faded as they usually did. The chill from the dream still clung to me, damp and metallic, like the air before a storm. I lay still in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening. Creak. The wood in the corner of my bedroom shifted as if someone had leaned their weight against it. My heart picked up. That sound belonged to the dream too, echoing from a place just beyond my vision whenever I dared to look too long at the shadows. I tried to shake it off. I sat up, rubbed my face, and told myself it was just a lingering trick of the mind. But then I looked at the window. It faced east, toward the dawn. Usually, by this time, a faint orange glow leaked into the room, soft and warm. This morning it was different. The sky outside looked washed out, pale as bone, the same endless gray-white I had seen night after night in my sleep. I pulled the blanket closer, the fabric suddenly too thin, too fragile. The figures weren't there yet, not exactly, but I had the sense that if I stared long enough, they would come. They always did in the dream, drifting in from the distance, slow but deliberate, like they knew where I was. I tore my eyes away, grabbed my phone from the nightstand. I wanted the comfort of a clock, of numbers and battery icons, something tethered to reality, but the screen didn't light up. Not even a faint vibration, just black. That's when I heard it. A low ringing. Not from the phone, not from anywhere I could place. It hummed in the air itself, faint but steady, like a glass about to crack. I pressed my palms against my ears, but it only grew sharper, piercing through. My breathing quickened. I tried to talk myself down. Maybe it was tinnitus. Maybe my body was still half asleep, but I couldn't ignore how perfectly it matched the sound in my dream. The tone that always began just before the figures arrived. And then came the footsteps. Soft, distant, but growing closer. I froze, every muscle tight. They weren't inside the room. Not yet. They were outside, on the street below, on the grass, moving with that same dragging rhythm I'd memorized without meaning to. Step, pause, step, pause. A syncopated beat of inevitability. I forced myself to the window. My hands trembled as I pulled the curtain just a fraction. There they were. At first, only one, a tall shape, dark against the pale sky. Then another, and another, their faces blurred, unfinished, like sketches smudged by water. They didn't look up, not immediately. They only stood there, still, as though listening. The ringing stopped. The silence that followed felt heavier. And then, as though obeying some hidden signal, they all lifted their heads at once and turned their eyeless faces toward me. I stumbled back, my heel catching the edge of the rug. My chest ached with the weight of my heartbeat. I whispered to myself, "Wake up." Over and over, "Wake up." But nothing changed. The room smelled wrong, faintly burnt, like wires overheating. The air was thick, hard to swallow. I pinched my arm until my nails left marks. The pain stayed. The dream wasn't fading this time. It was here. Another creak, this time from the window frame itself. I spun around. The glass shivered, as though touched from the outside. No breeze, no branches, just pressure. A faint distortion rippled across the pane, the same way it sometimes did in the dream before it broke. "No," I said aloud, though my voice cracked small. "You're not real." But the glass disagreed. Vibration. A deep thrum rolled through the window, rattling the sill, shaking dust loose from the blinds. The figures pressed closer, their shapes swelling larger as if the distance between us was shrinking too fast, folding in on itself. I thought of running, but where? The door led deeper into the apartment, narrow hallways with no exit until the front. And what if they were already inside? What if the footsteps I heard weren't only outside? Another set of steps, closer. Inside. I backed toward the bed, clutching the blanket like a shield. My throat went dry. The door handle rattled, once, then again, more insistent. The metal clinked softly, like teeth knocking together. "No, no, no," I whispered. The handle stilled. Silence pressed down again, heavier than before. I almost wished the ringing would return, just to break it. But instead, a shadow slipped across the floor, thin and stretched, crawling in through the crack beneath the door. It didn't match anything outside. It moved on its own. It lengthened, reaching, until it brushed against the edge of my bed. I couldn't breathe. My body wanted to scream, to leap, to fight. But my mind understood something my body didn't. This wasn't about escape. There was no outside anymore. The world beyond the window and the world inside this room had merged, sewn together by the dream itself. The glass groaned. The door trembled. The floor vibrated. And then everything stopped. Every sound cut out at once. The footsteps, the pressure, even my heartbeat seemed to fall silent. The window swung open without a sound. The dawn light poured in, pale and cold. The figures stood just beyond the frame, waiting, patient as they had always been, their hands lifted, fingers too long, curling toward me. I wanted to run, to resist, but my body betrayed me. I stepped forward, drawn like a puppet on strings, each motion smooth, rehearsed, inevitable. My bare feet touched the cold floor, carrying me toward the open window. The air smelled sharper now, metallic and final. I glanced once at the bed. The blankets twisted where I had clutched them. For a fleeting second, I hoped I might wake there again tomorrow, safe, laughing at how real it had felt. But deep down I knew there would be no waking. The dream had finished its crossing, and I had finished mine.